right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Music Creators Discussion Panel. Whether you're a music creator yourself or just a music lover, you came to the right spot. Most of the panelists today we have comprise various fields in music, whether they be a musician, composer, or sound designer. Our hope with this event is that you'll get insight to the diverse roles music has and maybe wish to look further into a specific one. This event will be broken up into 3 sections. We will first begin with getting a chance to have each panelist introduce themselves to all of you. We will then move on to the fun part of this event, where we'll learn more about each music creator on this panel. Then finally, we will open up the channel for a Q&A, so your questions you have throughout this event may be answered. All right. So we'll go around now introducing ourselves. I'll begin. So I am Christian, also known as AnimalBot99 online. I've been composing music now for about 6 years and have been playing piano for about the same amount of time. My main focus on Roblox lately is on music-related events and spotlighting our wonderful music creator community. I've been an event organizer with Roblox for roughly 9 months now, and I can't wait to see what else comes of it. So, Roblox developer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so my actual name is Colton, and I've been a composer since middle school, so I'd say about 6 years. And outside of composing, I also play oboe as my primary instrument, but I'm a woodwind doubler, so hand me any woodwind instruments and I can play it fairly decently. I've stepped a little bit away from Roblox more than I used to be because I used to develop a lot of games, but now my main focus is strictly on composing if I am to be on any project on Roblox.
All right,
And
got
I'm Mia. Oops. I'm Mia, and I'm actually a lot newer to the music side of development. I've been doing it for about a year now. I do not play an instrument, but I do produce in FL Studio. I primarily work on OSTs. Um, I otherwise am a programmer and event organizer on Roblox, and I've been an event organizer since about 2021. So yeah.
all right. So, let's start with the topics on the fun part. Alright, so one major music oriented game style that blew up during 2020 was virtual concerts. Virtual concerts, for those who don't know, are a way for people to connect virtually and watch their favorite musicians perform live over their virtual avatars. Roblox has seen quite a few big names, like Elton John, Mariah Carey, George Ezra, Lil Nas X, 21 Pilots, and many others. So it leads to some of our next few questions pertaining to them. So, Roblox developer, do you think that virtual concerts are the future?
I would say in this climate of today, yes, it's going to become a more prominent thing than anybody would have guessed, especially during COVID when it just kind of spiked, and afterwards you've seen them become more popular, more prominent, and I think there is a lot of pros to them. They're a lot more cost efficient, and they're a lot more accessible. So I can see more people gravitating toward them.
Right, and Godek, what's your thoughts?
I don't particularly think that virtual concerts are the future, but rather just kind of part of the future. I think it's a lot like other improvements, or not really improvements, but things that we've digitalized, where, there's definitely an audience out there that really likes virtual concerts. But for the most part, concerts are considered an experience. And by putting that into, a, an an online experience isn't really the same. And so I don't really think that's really going to keep people as excited as if they were to go see it wherever else.
And Aguma, you just joined us. So, do you briefly introduce yourself and also give your thoughts about virtual concerts being the future or not?
Yo, hello. Is this working? This is my first time using Gilded.
Yep, we hear you.
Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
it's working.
Okay. First of all, my webcam keeps freezing on Gilded, so we're just gonna use VC for now. So for virtual concerts, we're talking about if it's the future.
Yeah, do you think that they're going to become bigger in the future?
With the development of virtual concerts, I think that they will be an additive to the types of entertainment we already have. And so yes, they're going to be in the future for us, and they will keep on improving. So yeah, I think virtual concerts is something that we can look forward to in the future that we'll be able to benefit from as musicians too, because you can reach more than a live venue can hold. You know, like a live venue can have like maybe like 1,000 people, whereas a virtual concert can have like millions. So yeah, I think it's a future for sure.
Uh-huh. So, Godek, or Mia, he's like the only one that seems against virtual concerts. Do you think that they're a better experience live? Or would you rather see it live rather than virtual?
Yeah, so I think really you have to consider what really makes, and from what I can see, um, observing other people wanting to go to live concerts over virtual concerts. So really, what it boils down to is how you stimulate your senses. You know, you have your five basic senses: sight, touch, smell, taste, blah blah blah. And so with a virtual concert, you're not quite as stimulating those senses as much as if you were to go in person. And that's what makes it more exciting. You know, the music's louder, everyone's around you is excited, you know, you're moving around. But in a virtual experience, it's just you, your keyboard, and the screen. And only a limited number of senses are being stimulated to a limited degree.
Alright, Rogue's developer, how about your input? Do you think that it's virtual concerts are better than live concerts?
That is where I would draw the line in terms of my opinion, where I would say in-person concerts are superior, and I still think they will stay more popular than virtual concerts. But I'd say yeah, in-person concerts will still be the go.
What about you, Ayuma? What's your thoughts?
Um, from experiencing both, I can confidently say that virtual is completely different from live performance. It's just like I'm gonna be biased. I love being in front of like a person. I love like the interaction you can have with the band or the DJ. Um, but I do feel with development, as I said before, with virtual, that they're gonna come up with new ideas to incorporate feeling like you're actually there. Like, like we just have our headphones and screens. They might add some like bodysuit. You never know. It's like just thinking of some good ideas right now, but you never know what it can include in the future. But I like live way better, and I'll stand by that.
Okay.
It's just better for me. But talking for someone else, I don't know.
hmm Well, I think that one point that could be made between virtual and live is that virtual definitely is less costly to produce, and there could be like a higher payload or profit to be made when it's virtual. So, do you think that that might make some people want to explore a bit more with virtual concerts rather than live? Any of you can answer that.
Um,
Uh, oh, go ahead.
uh, yeah, for less costly and higher payload for the performance. Honestly, it depends on how many tickets are sold, who's showing up, who's this, what they have to offer, what is their value on the market of artists being paid. Um, it's just like maybe like it costs less to produce it, but the artist would the numbers on the lower side can't ask for the higher end of the paycheck. It just, if we're talking about like just pure logically, not even like on a morality scale, it's just pure logical thinking, is just like, if I'm gonna hire this artist, live or not live or virtual, what are they bringing to the table? I don't think the cost has an effect on how much you're paying the artist. It's what the artist brings to the table from their fan base, their music, like just in numbers from social media, everything. Like, for instance, like an artist has the possibility of making a lot more money from a virtual concert, or if they have, a lower following of fans, they can make less. And I don't think it'll necessarily affect the payload based off of cost to produce. I think the scale of how much higher they can get paid is raised because, as I said when we first started talking about this, is instead of reaching maybe 80,000 people in a stadium center, that artist can now reach millions of people. So in terms of accessibility to different crowds, yes, you can get higher pay from that. But in terms of costly to produce, it's a 50-50. It depends on who's doing the event. If it's like a indie, group trying to like start something, or it's like a high paying, like, let's just say your favorite grocery store throwing a live event or something. So that's my take on it. I think it depends on the artist,
And
if that makes sense.
me, our Roblox developer, want to add something?
I would definitely like to. So something that is really easy to think is, well, it's less cost to produce, and you'd be making the same amount, and so therefore the profit's higher. But that might not necessarily be true. Even though it's less cost to produce, just due to the nature of virtual concerts, you might not be making as much as well. From a monetization standpoint, let's say you're charging the same amount for a virtual concert versus a live concert, and your barrier to entry was the same, and you can choose either the live concert or the virtual concert without any extra cost on either side. And in 9 times out of 10, someone's going to choose that live concert. And this goes back to the whole monetization thing. You can't really charge as much for a virtual concert as you could a live concert. Um, for the overarching side of things, when you relate virtual concerts to the whole metaverse thing, I definitely do believe that it's part of the downwards trend of metaverses where it's losing money rather than making it. And that's been shown with data all across different companies. And so, even though it's less costly to produce, in the end, the performers might end up earning way less than as opposed to if they were to do it live. Um, Ideally, a virtual concert should really only be aimed to get your name out there, not really to actually get listeners or attendees.
Roblox developer, do I add anything?
Yeah, I'd say I'd like to add to what Goddick said, especially in terms of the metaverse. I would say it also goes hand in hand with virtual concerts. I don't really see them becoming extremely more popular unless the metaverse kind of sees a different trend and going upwards instead of downwards. But I still don't see equal amounts of money being made off the virtual concerts or even more. And like Goddick said, if you offer the same amounts to enter for either one, people most definitely go with the live concert. I mean, if you're going to charge someone to go to a virtual concert, they'd be expecting a much lower price because it's virtual, and they would think it shouldn't cost very much.
So I just want to go back to a point that Ayuma made with the reach of virtual concerts being like, it has a lot more of a reach because there's no capacity really. So do you think that having more of a reach with virtual concerts could be that like a positive to it? I lost my train of thought.
Hmm.
What was that again?
Even in
It's like virtual concerts, because there's like no capacity of people that you could have. Because I mean, like, you hear about artists all the time, like Ticketmaster, how people just can't get tickets and they wait like days and days and days and the site crashes. With virtual concerts, you don't really face that. It's like, do you
It's
think
very
that?
true. I mean, like the accessibility to virtual is like. Mhm. Do I think? Sorry, was that?
It's like, do you think that the accessibility of virtual concerts outweighs the live?
Um, I'm biased towards live concerts. I would much rather pay for a ticket to go to a live concert, but that's just my opinion. I know plenty of people, well, a handful, not a lot, but that would want to attend a virtual concert because they're not outers. They don't like going out. They like to be in the comfort of their house. Um, in terms of accessibility, like as everyone's saying, like what's it called? More people would rather go to like a live concert. So why even bother paying for a ticket, or why pay the same price as a live concert ticket, like the same as a virtual ticket? You know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna pay 60, why should I pay the same price when I'm not even going to be there if I'm going to a virtual comparing to a live concert? But I will say that there's going to be more. There could be more benefits to, for instance, if like a smaller event through a virtual concert, and instead of just like they like charge less in the ticket, but they have that the accessibility to tip out the artist, tip out this, put like a tip bucket for the pool for all the artists that are there. So it's just like it really depends. But as of right now, live is kind of like superior as of right now. But the growth of virtual can keep improving. But that's my take on it, just because I like live, and we can all speak on that.
Hmm. I think that we could sum it up with virtual concerts are great for reach, and live concerts are great for profit. I think we could all agree on that one. So it's
even then,
yeah.
actually, I would argue against the value of how accessible virtual concerts are. I think it's best to be compared to something like a music streaming service, right? And
Yeah.
so, if I wanted to, for example, let's say the Roblox Lil Nas X event costs money, like it costs you $20 to get in. Well, as a front end user, would I rather spend $20 to listen to those songs one time, but with just his virtual character dancing? Or would like to go to Spotify that I'm already paying $5 a month for and just listen to his songs right now?
That is a fair
And
point.
so I think, yeah, so questions like that really get you thinking about at that point, when is that accessibility even worth anything?
Mhm.
I'd like to add upon that. Is just that what I was saying before, like, yeah, that makes total sense too, and like I agree. But also to add that an artist, a popular artist, let's just throw a random name, like I don't know, your favorite artist. We don't have to throw names out there. Your favorite artist is performing on Roblox, like all time favorite, like fangirly, fanboy, like you love them. Their reach to fans is immense, making your event or the person's or company's event even bigger, making people buy tickets, this, that, and the other. But in terms of talking about people who are on the upcoming, yes, I understand. Like, why pay for this ticket for this guy that I can just listen to on Spotify? So that I get, but also to add that our artist that's on the grind, but also has a big fan base, can sell a lot of tickets. That's something to add to that.
Mhm. I actually just want to go back to what
Yeah.
Mia said. Or, Rogue, stop, right? Keep going. Did you have something? No? Okay. I just want to say, as Mia mentioned, that you could just go to a streaming service and listen to the same exact thing. Do you ever think that there's going to be like a truly live virtual concert? do you think that the technology will be there? Anyone can answer that one.
Yeah. I think
Ayuma
you
might
need
be
both.
able, might be best to take that first.
Is the technology even there yet? Anybody know?
I've done. I'm not a techie person. I'll never be like the techie person. But like, I will say I've done concerts where they've like done virtual performances and like for instance, I've seen like KDA perform, but the people on the screen become the actual. I don't know if you know what KDA is. It's like League of Legends characters. It's like a musical group made by Riot, but they performed. But on the virtual screen, it was the characters performing, but on the live event, it was the people performing. So they were just tracking the movements of the people and transferring that to actual like characters of the video game on the live screen, so you could see like both at the same time. So I think the technology is there. I'm just seeing that, but I can't really speak further on it just because I would just be speaking like stuff I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Alright, that's
point.
fair.
But yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah.
Anybody have any other final points to add to virtual concerts?
On the technical side of things, yeah, I have like one more thing. If I think to expand on what Yuma was saying is that if you remove the accessibility portion of virtual concerts, there's definitely a way, even right now, to get very, very immersed. First off, you can start by just doing it in virtual reality, and there's accessories for virtual reality that can make you more immersed, such as haptic suits. You can get types of like body and face outputs for like temperature and wind and sense and whatnot. And these are real technologies that already exist for virtual reality. And again, they're not as accessible to the general public, but if they were, that would definitely bring the value of virtual concerts up more, because it would feel like you're there more.
All right. Anybody else have anything else to add? Nope. Okay. So I guess move on to more about our own workflows and like our own, like what we do musically, pretty much. So we all have one thing in common with each other. That is that we all make music, whether it be our own works or playing someone else's. The only difference that can differentiate us is how we make the music, how we practice, what our schedules look like, and how we all got into this field. So let's go through a few questions on what we do in our time with music. So how many of you consider yourself composers? I think everybody here, right?
So I like to think so. Yeah.
So
All of it.
Roblox developer, what's your workflow when you compose music?
I don't have a really set workflow because I don't have a set schedule when it comes to composing. It's kind of hard to fit into my work schedule, but whenever I do, I try to dedicate a couple hours of frame time to sit down and work on a piece. And if I hit a roadblock, I kind of work on another piece. I just kind of keep a line of works I'm working on and see how much I can get done on each one and what I need to come back to at a later date.
So it sounds like you like to focus on many things at once rather than just focus on one thing.
Yeah, so it makes it very difficult during commissions, but it's great if I'm commissioned for multiple works, because then I'll have to focus on one overall for the entire commission.
And then Mia, what does your workflow look like when it comes to composing music?
The best word to describe it is chaotic. There's no, I never seem to have the same workflow every time. I basically spur of the moment, like I'm going to open up FL Studio, and now is the time I'm going to start working on what I should work on. And then, when trying to pick instruments or, going through all the synthesizers and trying to tweak with knobs and whatnot. I'll make the biggest wibbly wobbly of garbage until I finally find something. And there's never really a workflow for me that speeds that up. It's really just a lot of experimenting until I get where I want to get.
Mhm. It's definitely true. When you're playing with instruments, you could kind of get taken away by it and get really distracted because you're just trying to find that perfect sound.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Aguma, what's your workflow look like?
Kind of similar to like being like hectic. But the first thing I do before the chaos like all comes down is I just open up my piano plugin on Ableton and just start improvising just for fun, just to activate my fingers, my brain, to like let out any like type of stress that's occurring before I work. Because if I work stressed, then like the workflow is going to be kind of like not free flowing. I'm going to be thinking about other things rather than my work in front of me. So that's the first thing I do, and then I just let it rip. I guess my brain
Mhm.
just like throw up onto the DAW.
Actually, like how you mentioned that you have to improv first to warm up. Like sometimes I would find myself doing that just to find inspiration. It definitely does help though.
Yeah, it helps out doing it. It's like a little fresh start before you get like all the BS you have to deal with composing sometimes.
Yep. Then, Roblox developer, I know that you mentioned that you have some commissions. So how do you usually try to balance that? And do you have like any other part-time or full-time jobs that you have to balance along with it?
Yes, actually, I'm speaking of full-time jobs. Actually, in the office at my full-time job right now, just kind of taking a break in the conference room to do this discussion panel. So it can be pretty difficult to manage that plus college work, and then any commissions that's come by. But I try to set aside my work schedule and focus on any commissions I have and put all my creative focus strictly into that for the time being up until the deadline. That way I can make sure I can get a lot of time to work through my chaos and get something out there that I'm sure the client will actually enjoy and something they'll be happy to have.
And then, Mia, do you do any commissions or work for any studios?
So outside of music, yes, but for music, I typically don't do any jobs for other people. When I do, it's always a commission. I've never done part time or full time for music before, and that's just because I'm primarily a programmer and interface designer.
Mhm. So music is more of like a side hobby.
Yeah, yeah, but it's been something I really want to get more into, because it's probably the most stress relieving thing I do. Unlike again programming, where it's stressful more and more as you do it.
Mhm. And then, Aguma, how about you? Have any commissions or part-time, full-time jobs you balance along with it?
Um, yeah, I've been doing music full time, but it's more so like commission based, and then like working a part of like a group to then you know be a dev on like quote dev, but I'm the composer, but I guess we're devs, but on like a game. So like once the game's released, I get like a certain type of cut, and then it goes from there. And because I also do like sound effects, so if they want the full package, I usually work out things so where they can get music and sound effects. But yeah, full time, yes, but it's I would rather just be working for myself. So I want to get into like making video games for Roblox, and one person that got into Roblox, Endark. I don't know if you know Alex or Endark or anything like that, but he got me into that, and we're thinking about making some games together. So I'm gonna take music into that direction of things because sometimes just working off of commissions, as cool as it sounds to be a full time musician, it can get kind of like too much because you have to rely on commissions rather than like a paycheck. and I'm cool with like on the grind, but like I want something more stable.
Yep.
And music can get me there, obviously. But as of right now, it's a little sporadic and like everything's everywhere all at once. I swear. But yeah,
Yeah, those are fair points. All
Mhm.
right, and then another good talking point is what role does music play in your day-to-day life? So, Roblox developer.
First and foremost, it's therapy. It's very soothing to just, if you have a stressful day or if you just need a break from work, to just put everything aside, sit down. In my case, open Sibelius, sit down, and just write how you feel. Just put something on the paper, and just kind of let it flow until you've kind of hit the end of that stressful point. And in my case, by the end of it, I feel a lot better, and I feel like all my stress has melted away. So it really has helped me through stress, depression, any kind of bad emotion. It is first and foremost a great therapist.
And how about you, Mia?
In my day to day life, I think it's pretty similar to what Roblox developer was saying. It's very much therapy, you know. Like I'll be working on something and I'll just be frustrated out of my mind. I'm just like, oh my god, like so I'll be mad, like, and so um, I'll stop what I'm doing and like Roblox developer said, open up the DAW. For me, that's FL Studio, and just for me, I'll edit something I had before, or just tinker around with all sorts of random stuff. I don't even have to finish anything. I don't have to have something that's even listenable, but just sitting there and messing with it can take my mind off of whatever I had before because I have my full attention on FL Studio.
And then, Aguma, what does music play in your day-to-day life?
I have a loving and toxic relationship with music. As a listener, I can calm down, like just strictly the music. I can enjoy music, but for stress relievers, I would say like maybe just improvising on the piano. Maybe if I'm not frustrated at myself, because I like even when I'm just like trying to play for fun, like I'm also trying to like get better while I'm playing. So there's like no downtime because like I'm just always actively thinking. So if I get the idea and I improve and I'm just like, this is great, I'm like, heck yeah, I'm loving it. Like this is amazing, no stress. But if I'm like making mistakes and like going through growing pains, I'm like, dang, this sucks. I'm stressed, but it's still great all in all. Like music is just that for me. Like no matter like how bad it is, I will still be passionate about music. No matter how great it is, there will still be terrible moments. I think for stress relief, I go to video games to because I don't have to think. I overthink when I make music, and sometimes it can be too stressful because like that's all I do is every day is literally music. So like sometimes my ears get tired. I don't want to like look at the program anymore. Like Ableton looks like a Google spreadsheet. I swear to God. Like sometimes I get tired of looking at that dang thing. I gotta look at like some right. I need to play Valorant. I need to go to Roblox. I need to watch some YouTube, watch some Markipliers. I don't know. Like music, I love it, but sometimes if it was a person who fights, it's like a marriage. I swear. But yeah, that's my relationship with music on a day to day.
Alright, those are all fair points. I think what you're saying, though, is how when the sound's not going the way that you want it to. I think that the biggest
Yeah,
critic out there could be your own self.
I agree. I definitely agree.
But all the other points, those are all fair. So it's
Sure.
so what got you guys into music in the first place? Roblox developer?
So it actually started in seventh grade with band, which was by no means intentional for me. I never really had a specific love for music up until that point. I was actually just taking band to get out of gym class because that was the only other alternative. And I was like, you know what? Let me try out band. And I had an amazing band instructor. She was very passionate about music and she made me passionate about music. She taught me so much about it and how it affects our day to day life and how much it goes underappreciated. And before I knew it, I just fell in love with it. She even introduced me to composing. Originally using MuseScore, she told me that'd be a good way to get into it. And before I knew it, I was composing music left and right, was playing multiple instruments, and it all started with her.
I could kind of relate to that though. So, and I got into music a little later. It was like junior year of high school, and the band teacher taught me piano along with composing. So that's kind of how I picked up the two, and I've been going with it since. So, Mia, what got you into music?
It's goofy. It really, I don't remember the specifics from like the core like origin, but what I do remember is that one day for some reason I decided to download FL Studio because I somehow finally found out what it was. I discovered it, and I thought I'd take it around with it with the trial. And I probably would have given up probably after a week, but my whole friend group downloaded FL Studio as well, and so we all messed around with it and kind of learned together. And we shared knowledge on like plugins and where to find sounds and whatnot. So over time, all of us kind of grew on FL together, despite our differing music styles. But that's as far as it goes for me. Is I got into music because I found FL Studio and thought it was cool.
That's actually a wholesome story. Then,
Thanks.
what got you into music?
It's the only thing I was good at. Just like that's like literally the answer. Like I been doing music since I was a kid, and it was the first thing that I got good at, and it's the last thing I got good at. Kind of like besides like other skills, like like talking to people, like or maybe making food. This is in terms of like a work skill, something I was passionate about. It became like something in my blood ever since I was like a baby. I've always played music. No one in my family are musicians, but my mom sang to me whenever I would go to sleep. And then somehow, some way, it's hard to remember because I was so young, but I got into piano lessons. I remember seeing a saxophone for the first time when I was in elementary school. I played the plastic clarinet, aka the recorder. I loved playing that. So it was just like something I found interest in when I was little, and the relationship between me and music just like grew, and I just started getting better at it. And I realized that this is the thing I want to do to not only help myself but be of service to others. Because in this world, we need each other. We can't do things by ourselves. I mean, we could, but progress would be super slow. It'd be too stressful. But it was something I knew I could use for myself and be beneficial to others, and I just stuck to it ever since I was a kid. Then I got into jazz in middle school with saxophone, and then my band teacher in middle school was great. Then I was a rebellious kid in high school, got kicked out of the honor band for some, not so smart things. I fought my tears all the time. But through there, they made me change different instruments. They put me on drums, they put me in flute, clarinet, because they kept kicking me out of like the top band. And then that's how I learned other instruments because I was rebellious. So yeah,
I guess it worked out.
that's kind of how I got into music. Yeah, it's definitely worked out.
You made a
Definitely.
good thing out of a bad thing. It's
Yep.
it's funny that you mentioned recorder though. So during the COVID pandemic, I decided to take up recorder again. So I bought the standard one, the soprano recorder. 1 month later, I bought the tenor recorder. 2 months later, I had an alto one. Then I bought the bass one, and now I have a sopranino one. So I have like a whole recorder collection going on. It's a pretty nice instrument.
Nice. I love the recorder.
Yeah, the recorder is pretty nice. But speaking of the 2020 though, how was the pandemic for your inspirations? Your creativity? Did your creativity blossom during lockdown? Folks developer, you can answer that.
Inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good a good time in terms of having so much free time I didn't know what to do with it. So I thought, great time to sit down and write some music and explore myself as a composer and find more of what helps me write music. Because I say it was a good time to help inspire myself to make some actually really good pieces that came out of it.
How about you, Mia?
I can't answer this question because I did not start making music until like literally January of last year. So I'm too new to answer this.
Okay, that is fair. How about you, Ayuma?
It was a change of pace. I was used to going to clubs, playing for like parties, playing saxophone, being a band, like live performance everywhere, live this, live that, producing in the studio, then taking it to the stage. And then 2020 hit, and then I lost like the club job I was doing, like everything. And then my cousin, Endark, which he's does stuff for Game Fam right now. Before he didn't, he was just starting to produce games, and I was like, "Yo, can you think I can start doing stuff for Roblox?" So 2020 was the birth of Roblox composer Yuma. um, and then that's how I met Beastlick, one of the OGs of the Roblox composer community. And from there, like things just naturally got put together, and then I started composing little by little, meeting people here and there. And then from going from club and performing, I went to like more of like hiding and just like chilling at like comfort of my home and just like making orchestral music, because I was just making hard trap, party, EDM, house music. But then like I lost track of my roots, which is classical and jazz. And then by doing so, 2020 like kind of brought that back. And yeah, that's how I got started with Roblox too.
I like how you
And
mentioned.
I got a PC.
Okay, great. I like how you mentioned.
Go ahead.
I like how you mentioned Beastlick. All of my events, we always mention Beastlick somehow, and I would love to
Yep,
have him as an event on an event, but his schedule, he's so busy, it's so hard. But I think what we could do is talk about what genres we all compose in. So Roblox developer.
It's a job. No?
Usually strictly classical.
It's my job.
On occasions, jazz, but first and foremost, I just compose classical music.
How about you, Mia? What genres of music do you usually compose for?
Since I primarily do composition for OSTs, they're like OSTs for first-person shooters. So I do a lot of hardstyle, drum and bass, and like some trap. But on my back end, I'm working with a friend of mine, and I'm starting to, or hopefully soon, I'll be able to release some of my indie music that I've been working on. That's heavy with guitars and drums.
Nadirba? You kind of touched on this already.
Yeah, I love all genres. A little bit of country too, maybe sometimes. It just depends on like how I'm feeling. So for genre wise, in terms of like work, you can ask me to make anything and I'll just make it. But for myself, I lean more towards like the alternative indie. Sometimes I like to make drill music. Sometimes I like to make like house, like something with like a beat, I guess. But then again, like sometimes I don't know. Like I just love it all.
hmm
So there's a word for it, and I can't think of it. Where it means like genreless almost. So I guess everything. Like I'm down to like try everything out and just make anything.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
There's a word for it, and I can't remember.
It definitely helps.
There's a word like
It helps when you're versatile in all these genres.
yeah.
Okay, so let's I think we covered our music background a little bit. So how about we move to spotlighting the importance of music? So, as people who make music, we're really putting ourselves out there to be judged. Whether we write instrumental works or songs, we're pouring our hearts out into the music we create, and music expresses much more than any other creative media could. Music affects our sense of hearing, vision, and touch depending on how we create or play the music. But one thing, time and time again, that we see is the field of music being overlooked as something that could be easily disposed of. Speaking personally, I remember one time one of my music professors mentioned a time they spoke to one of their colleagues about a class that she was teaching, which was today's music. And she said that her colleague asked her, "Do you actually teach them anything?" So do you guys feel undercut by your path just because people can't appreciate it? Roblox developer?
I would say, speaking for myself, I've been lucky enough to be in groups and have clients that actually enjoy music and put a large amount of emphasis and importance on music. But I have seen other composers feel undercut or underappreciated. So I think it's definitely out there for other composers, and I have no doubt I will experience that in my future as well. But luckily, as of now, I've only been around groups and those clients that actually feel it is very important and whatever it's for.
How about you, Mia? Do you feel undercut by the path that you chose?
So I'm in a unique position where I can actually compare it to other things I do. So when I compare it to like programming, right? Like if I go and somebody wants me to be a programmer, they pay me much more than if I were to do music. I stick around for much longer. It's a longer term job. And overall, I feel a lot more appreciated. So from a music composer perspective, I definitely do feel undercut because I don't know. It's really frustrating when getting a commission that there's no real direction, and people are just like, oh, make whatever, and um, and they could you could argue it's creative freedom, but for me, it's undercutting it because you're not giving it its true potential to really flow with the project 100%. Um, and from the numbers side of things, it just hasn't paid as much, and hasn't. It's been a lot harder to get jobs as a music composer. So I do think that its value should be reevaluated.
And Aguma, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree. Undervalue, even though it has high value, music and sound is very important for a game. Someone could be like, "Yo, what is this sound? This is bad. I don't like this." You know what I mean? So, or they can be like, "This is beautiful." Like soundtracks make a game sometimes, or movies and stuff like that. But I agree that the value of, in terms of like also like just being in the Roblox field, like the last thing you're gonna add is the sound effects and music. That's most likely going to be it. You're gonna have your map first. You're gonna have your programmer. Like it's like the cherry on top, and it's also important to add. But it's been one of the most frustrating things because as of right now, like I had like I'm having a situation. You never know with Roblox sometimes because it's not always the best because some like unfortunate events will happen to like someone's group and there's like a falling out or someone needs to take a break and then that game that you're supposed to release you're supposed to get paid and that time is on pause, and because you're not a very seeked out role comparing to builders and like modelers and map designers and etc programmers, it becomes hard to find more work. But when you find the work when people value your stuff, it's amazing. But it's like music is one of those like non-straight path things because a musician has multiple jobs. It's releasing music, managing themselves. They got to compose the music. Then they got to mix the dang thing. So they're not just the composer, they're also the mixer, like engineer, and that can be so much stress that people don't see. People just think like, oh, I'm gonna throw up some bing bong booms like in this track, and then the track's done. Hell yeah! Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss, but heck yeah! And then you get paid like maybe $50, $100 per minute, but like the amount of work is like worth more than that. And I'm in a situation right now where I'm in a frustrating situation looking for work because things happen between groups. And it's nothing personal, but it's just gonna be like that sometimes until you create yourself into your own boss. And that's what I'm trying to do, is eventually make myself my own money rather than rely on other people. But until then, you know, it's just been a roller coaster ride just doing music full time. Like I want to learn programming, but then I was like, nah, let's just stick to music and we'll figure this out with everyone. But yeah, that's kind of my take.
So, because you mentioned the workload of composers, I'm just curious where you would all like, if you had to take a like programmer, builder, animator, composer, and you had to rank them all by importance, where would composer fall?
We're composer fault in terms of like
It's
value. I would
yeah.
never undervalue or overvalue. I will never say I'm better than a programmer or more or less than a programmer. Like, but in terms of logically speaking and making a game, the programmer is more important during the beginning phases than a composer is. In terms of creating games in a larger scale, if we're just talking in general and broad statement, I don't think either party is better or worse. They all bring something different to the table. But for Roblox, I will say that the musician is kind of like, oh yeah, nice. And it's gonna be like that until we keep pushing for like people seeing the importance of music. But it's just how it's gonna be for a long time, and you just gotta work around it. We're just gonna get undervalued until there's like something different in the Roblox community.
And then
There's great people that value musicians, by the way. Anyways, I'm done. Next person.
Mia, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah. So I have a bit of a different response, and mine comes from the perspective of somebody who's designed and published multiple Roblox games since 2014. And so from like a game designer slash business owner perspective, um, it's really harsh. But I definitely would not put a music composer over a programmer in any case. So because the programmer is required to even implement the music in the first place. It's like having, if you had a game with every role except for a programmer, it'd just be a folder of assets that does nothing. But a programmer by themselves would still be able to make something functional. So in terms of, I would rank it by what is most gratifying for the front end user. And so the user experience primarily comes from anything designed from programming and user interface. But I will say, sound takes up 1/3 of your senses when playing the game. And so I would still rank a music composer way higher than something like a modeler or a level designer, as important as those roles are, because the sound engineer slash music composer is going to be the person that is entirely responsible for stimulating 1/3 of the game.
That's fair. Then Roblox developer?
I wouldn't say I have anything to add. I'd say God has well exactly the same opinion I do in terms of this.
Alright. And because we're all kind of dancing around the elephant in the room, what's your guys' thoughts with Roblox treating composers? Do you think that they could be doing more for us?
I'm pretty new to Roblox, so that's more of like I can only add from my experience. But I think both of y'all could like definitely bring some important information to that question.
I would say with how Roblox is buckling down in terms of copyright, left and right with different things, especially on the Disney community on Roblox has taken a big hit. And I'm actually part of one of those Disney groups, and I'm felt my importance has increased because I feel like more people on Roblox are going to start looking for composers to fill those holes that have been made because of copyrighted music that they can no longer use. And so I feel like Roblox as a company itself could do more to show value for us, but as far as the individual groups, I feel like we might see an increasing of importance and people actually seeking us out.
Mia, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I'm trying to compare it to the development process outside of Roblox. And so definitely compare it to outside of Roblox. Music composers are super undervalued. But I also think that goes for all other roles on Roblox. And the reasoning is because Roblox has impressed on many developers that the toolbox is the answer to all problems. You know, if you're not a modeler, go find a model. If you can't make music, can't make a sound, we'll just go pull that from the toolbox. And this is where we get. This is why it seems like a lot of Roblox games are lower quality because, you know, for example, with the music, they'll just pull music from the toolbox that's not completely coherent with the project, albeit it can be sometimes, not always. Um, I do think for Roblox to be able to raise the value a little bit more would be to kind of first address the toxicity of the creator marketplace. We've unfortunately seen that with paid plugins. Some developers, such as Boat Bomber, have already received death threats for charging just a few cents for a plugin. Um, and so I can't imagine that it'll be much easier for a music composer in the future when we want to sell music on the toolbox to get a good response from the community. And so I definitely do think that because of how Roblox has developed over time, with just giving so much free stuff, um, music composers are unfortunately one of the roles that are undervalued and probably the most undervalued role out of all development process.
I want to reiterate what you said with composers being able to sell audio. So I actually made a Deathform post about that with some help from another Roblox user, Dimwitted Sorcery. So he had a few good points about allowing composers certain ways to have people buy our music for like Robux and stuff. And then like, I don't know, it would work like UGC does in a way. So like, do you guys think that that would
Mhm.
ever be possible on Roblox? And do you think it would be worth it?
I think it would be worth giving it a shot, but in the immediate moment for the way the Roblox development community is right now, trying to publish music to the toolbox might not be, it might not get you anything at all in terms of revenue, because there's just so much free stuff, and people don't see the value of um, putting in their own original content that they'll just grab some APM library music and call it a day.
I just want to throw one more point in there as well. Next month is gonna be 1 year since all audios went private, and Roblox still has yet to put out any, like, anything saying when we're gonna be able to put audios on sale again. So, Rogue's developer, do you want to share your thoughts on either point that I made?
I actually didn't know that. I mean, I like I said way early in this discussion, I don't really develop on Roblox anymore. I'm strictly a composer, so I did not realize that all audio went private. So I'm wondering where they're going with that and what their game plan is for the end of it.
Mia, do you have anything to add?
Oh no.
Yuma.
To the Roblox toolbox. Gosh, the amount of people that have been like, "Hey, you need music," or like reaching out to me, and then I'm like discussing prices. Like, you know what? I'll get back to you on that. There's a toolbox feature I have right here. I'm gonna just use that, and I can't get mad. Like, you're just an indie, like you're upcoming developer. You gotta be smart with your money, and you know that's why as a composer, I can't just make that as my excuse. The toolbox, gosh, great for the people that need it. I have, it's double sided for me because I want more work, but I understand the usage for it. But I don't know if that's answering your question. I just started talking about the toolbox because, like, I've encountered so many people that talk about it, and I'm not even upset. It loses me jobs, but like, it's up to me to create more opportunities for myself, and I cannot blame a toolbox for me not doing that for me. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Alright, anybody else want to make any final points about the importance of music? Okay. So it doesn't look like we have anybody watching. So I think that it's safe that we could skip over the Q&A. Or, do you guys have any questions for each other? For me?
Not really.
Roblox developer, Ayuma.
I don't honestly, just nice to see like
Yeah.
other what's it called? Sorry, I have allergies. It's nice to see y'all. Like, I don't know, it's just cool to like meet other people because I'm in like my little hole at my house. You know, this is really fun for me at least. Like, just to like see others' perspective on Roblox because I am super new to this. So instead of a question, I'm just like I'm appreciating the information y'all have like talked about. It's giving me a lot of insight because these are things I've been thinking about for a while. I just like didn't know how to view everything. You know, it's very broad what I just said, but like I do appreciate everything that has been said during this moment. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That means a
That's it.
lot.
Yeah.
Alright, so we'll skip over the Q&A. So let's say I have two more questions that I want to ask all of you. They're probably a little bit more personal, and you could probably expand upon them a lot. How do you guys get through burnout?
In terms of composing, I just step back for a little bit and I try not to work on anything that requires my strict creativity, like a commission. So I just open up a new page, throw together some instruments, and I just write randomly. I don't let anything strict come to mind. I just let full free creativity go, and no matter how horrible it sounds, just throwing some stuff on some paper makes me feel a lot better. And actually, sometimes I can get some ideas out of it because it's almost becomes like improv, and then I can kind of hear some things out of the chaos that actually gives me some ideas that it gets rid of the burnout and actually turns into inspiration for me to go back and actually create something with.
Right. And Mia?
So honestly, the way I get through burnout really applies to everything and not just music, but it's to preemptively prevent it. And that primarily means that you don't work off of motivation, you work off of discipline. So that's a double-edged sword, right? That means when you don't want to work on something, you work through it anyways. You set times when you're going to work no matter what. But that also means you don't work past the time, even if you want to in the moment, because doing too much then can make you too tired or too burned out to do it the next time. Really, it's setting guidelines for yourself. For me personally, first thing that the most important thing is school, and when that's out of the way, I have hours of the day I spend towards work, with intermittent breaks, and I cut off myself at like 7 p.m. I turn off my computer completely, turn off that side of the world, and I get to a different side of the world. I cook, I clean, stuff like that. Things that will put my mind in a different state than if I were to do music or programming or anything. So really, the long story short of getting through burnout is to prevent burnout in the first place by keeping a good and consistent schedule.
All right, and Ayuma.
Dang, I always cough at the worst time. I agree to that last statement by Mio because it's not always gonna. You're not always gonna be able to prevent it, but like you have to. You know, last thing you want to do as a musician or anything you're doing is get when you're working out. You don't want to like not work out for a week. You're just gonna lose your gains. You know what I mean? Like you take a break, a long break of a week. Once you get burnt out as a musician, there's gonna be a long period of time, like an actual burnout. I'm not talking about a temporary, like music block for like an hour. I'm talking about like a burnt out where you can't work, you can't offer anything to yourself because you have allowed yourself to get into a state of overheating and you just can't produce at the same level that you normally produce, and so you have to recharge your battery. Instead of recharging your battery every day, you use up your battery for the whole month, and then you have to take 2 weeks break, and then you just lose all that time. So I do agree with that statement. But when I do go through a burnout, I will say the best thing for me is just to go through it. Like there's no right way to deal with a burnout. You just gotta deal with it. You just gotta do it. Like do something different. Go out on a walk. Go work out. Go drink some water, but it's gonna be a burnt out and it's gonna be a pain to go through. Like there's no like secret technique to deal with it. It's like you just want to prevent it from happening and practice preventing it. Sometimes you're gonna get burnt out, but make the burnouts less throughout the year. That's my opinion on it.
That's some very good advice. So, what advice would you give to people who want to make it in the music field?
I'd say start small. Does that mean let's say some people would go into it thinking, I want to be the next John Williams and just kind of go straight into it and, end up disappointed when it's not what you thought it would be. So just start out slow, find your voice as a composer, see where you're at, and then start exploring those careers and see where you fit in as a composer.
Yeah, would you like to give advice?
Yeah. So really, I would just say to put yourself out there. And what I really mean by that is, just because you're new doesn't mean you can't find somebody that will want to work for you. When you're newer, you're not going to earn as much, and so you can match yourself with somebody who has a lower budget. Generally, though, don't not apply to somewhere because you think you're not good enough. Or at least that's the general. There are exceptions, but for the most part, don't apply to somewhere just because you think you aren't good enough. Don't tell yourself that you're not qualified. Let someone else tell that to you, so that you know what the objective benchmark is. And I think what I've noticed when people really follow that guideline of putting themselves out there and letting someone else know how good they are, 9 times out of 10, the person that they are trying to apply for will end up seeing them as way more valuable than they see themselves.
And Aguma, anything you want to add?
Um, Honestly, like if you're gonna as a hobby, try it out. I feel like people make so many excuses of not to learn something, and that's just not music. Oh, I wish I knew how to play guitar. Then learn the guitar. Look up some videos. Save up to buy a guitar or piano. Start a trial on Ableton for 90 days. It's free. Get a little $100 keyboard. Or there's so many resources. There's so many resources out there for you to do things. So, but in terms of it being a career, you have to sort of be in love with it. You got to have a passion for music to do it full time. Like there's nothing wrong with doing it like not full time or even as a hobby. But if you want to do it as a career, there's going to be a lot of work you're going to have to do. You're going to have to learn a lot of skills to make music. You know, there's no light way to say it. It's going to be really rough, especially for a musician, because that path is not like a lot of other paths. It's going to be a pain. It's going to be great and fun. You can learn a lot of things, but it takes a different breed to just do music and not do anything else. You got to be passionate about it. If you're not passionate about it, cool. You can do something else and still make beautiful music and have fun with it. Because if you're not passionate, doing music full time is going to ruin your love for music. It's going to kill it. It's going to kill the vibe. You're going to stop enjoying it because it's your job now. And it has to be a balance. So that's my take on it, at least for myself. And I would advise you to be super passionate about music if you want to take it seriously. But if you just want to learn it, go for it. Like, there's nothing stopping you from making music. You can literally download a free trial. But yeah.
Well, that's all really good advice. So as we start to come to a close here, I just want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to be part of this panel. Unfortunately, not everyone could make it, but I'm pretty sure, as long as you're all down for it, we could definitely have another panel sometime in the future. So, thank you once again for everybody for making it here, everybody watching, and yeah, I think that is going to be the end of this.
Alrighty. Thank you for having me.
Alright.
Peace,
Thank
peace.
you.
Thank you.
Alright, stream's over. We're all good. Thanks again, everyone.